Certainly, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un are two very different men. They lead two very different countries. So as they prepare to meet tomorrow, the world has been trying to predict how these two will get along. And if they're really all that different, our correspondent Nathan King looks at how their style will likely shape this historic summit.
Trump is more than a name. It's a brand that the young Donald Trump was never far from the cameras, newspaper headlines and gossip columns. In contrast, little to nothing was known about Kim Jong-un until he assumed power. This is what we knew back in 2010.
To be honest, we actually know very little about the third son. We don't have even a reliable picture of him in recent years. We know that as a youngster, he went to study in Switzerland, but since coming back from that experience, he seems to have disappeared into the inner sanctums of the North Korean leadership and disappeared completely.
Since assuming office, Kim has become a young, dynamic leader that seems to be changing the DPRK and fast, testing more missiles and nuclear weapons, presiding over an economic boom in Pyongyang. Despite his youth and relative inexperience, Kim was reportedly well informed on every major issue during his meetings with his South Korean counterpart. Trump is nearly twice Kim's age and could never be accused of paying too much attention to detail, but some analysts are drawing parallels between the two, arguing it's possible that these two leaders will click.
They have some very similar traits and similar backgrounds to the point where I think if they got in a room together, they would actually get along quite well. If the U.S. allows Trump to be Trump and he goes in with his deal-maker mode, I think there is stuff that could be done and a relationship that could be built that could set us down a diplomatic path.
Both leaders have also shown flexibility, discarding last year's personal attacks and nuclear threats to engage this year in delicate diplomacy. Both leaders, Trump and Kim, are known not to want too much compromise and tend to get their own way in their own countries. But this historic summit could mean that they actually do make compromises in a bid to end decades of distrust and make history themselves. Nathan King, CGTN, at the White House.